Hi everyone! So clearly I am still very new to drawing on camera. When I was planning for the full speed paint on my channel, I decided to jump into my sketchbook and do a test film and see how it goes and just try and figure out the layout and sort of what I want for the profile. So everything that could go wrong, I think it did go wrong. But in the best possible way, since I still ended up with a clip to show you guys. But basically, I started out with just a plain sketch like I usually do, and you can see it a lot clearer in my sketchbook than you could on the final video. And this is where a lot of the decision making took place that really sort of ended up in the video and ended up changing my style a little bit. I'm used to using very round shapes for character designs, and for this one I ended up with a lot more sharp lines, which I think was an accident, but I ended up loving it so much I pulled it through to the final design. I also ended up coloring the sketch, which wasn't originally intended, but I thought it would be a good test to see how the camera handles the colors and how much adjusting I would have to do in post-editing time. So here you can see me just sketching away, figuring out where all the lines go, and experimenting with the background, which ended up being that glob of blue to contrast with the red of his helmet and the silvers of his armor. So there I added a bit more detailing than I did on the final in his shoulder straps and pauldrons. I thought that I had shown the cap there a bit more clearly, and later in the video you'll even see me chasing a fly around because it decided to join me for my recording. Luckily that did not happen in the final, and I was not plagued by flies during the second recording. Basically here I was just experimenting with layering and making sure that you can kind of see the colors, because with the Dragon Slayer, his design uses a lot of very light layering and glazing for the helmet and the silver pieces of his armor. Well, it's actually an alloy steel, so not technically silver, but you color it much the same way you would color silver. I also got really experimental with the line work in this drawing, inspired by a comic I was recently reading. I also did a lot less detailing on like the face mask and the black dragon skin he wears under his armor, only using the one color. Instead of usually what I do is I layer a warm grey with the black, I just went in straight with the black. The fly has just arrived and left. So here's where I got the idea of that blue blob in the background, although you can see this one's much more rough. And this is where I went in with a brush pen and actually did a lot of the outlining with that. I have a lot of trouble with brush pens because they're very flexible and you need a very steady hand to get any workable results with them. Here I reverted back to my regular fine liner. Found it a bit easier to control for, especially the curve of the horns on his helmet. Here's where I go in with the scales, and I did line work instead of penciling. I do think the results are interesting. I get much more of a concept art look with the pens, and that's why I decided to do some hatching and just rough detailing instead of being too neat with it. Decided to go a bit crazy. I do like the way this turned out in my sketchbook. It was the first thing I had drawn in a while that it turned out the way I wanted it to. So that's why it ended up making it into the final production.